I hereby call the City Council meeting for November 8th to order. If you would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, Councilmember Mercado will be leading us.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All righty. Roll call, Linda.
Okay, Councilmember Andrusik.
Here.
Councilmember Mercado.
Here.
Vice Mayor King.
Here.
And Mayor Sierra.
Here. Thank you very much. Do we have any reordering of the agenda tonight?
No, ma'am.
Okay. We move on to public comments. This is your opportunity to speak about anything you want to talk about, whether it's on the agenda or not. You get 3 minutes. Complaints, compliments, suggestions, we appreciate them all. I have one speaker slip tonight. It's Mr. David Schwartz. Please step up.
I did pass out my speaking points on a piece of paper, so if I miss something, you'll still have something with you. And congratulations to the board for the election and re-election.
Thank you.
You have your new member sitting in the back, I see. And that's kind of what I want to talk about, because I'm unhappy with what took place on the 3rd of November. One piece of mail I received was from a Mr. Larry Rankin, who my wife doesn't like me to refer to it, but it seems to me like it's kind of like a Pearl Harbor piece, a sneak attack with bad intentions and wrong. But that was step one. That made me very unhappy. Step two is I started to look at it. If you look at the bottom of this attack piece, you'll see that it's got a supposed organization and a number. Well, if you go to the elections, you'll find out they have to register. You know, the Fair Political Practice Act requires these groups to register. And turns out there's only 2 people involved in this, quote, group, Buellton First. I never heard of them. They're a shell group, and there's a Mr. Trent Benedetti, B-A-N-E-D-E-T-T-I, who appears to be active in Santa... Pardon me?
Trent Benedetti.
Benedetti?
He's a CPA in Santa Maria.
And he's very active in the Santa Maria Chamber of Commerce and Visitors Bureau. I don't know what business he has and influence the election here. And someone called Peter Robertson, who shows a Santa Ynez address, and if you Google him, he was in Lompoc before. So now we have these 2 people trying to influence a council election in Buellton, and of course I don't know why. And my request is that the council consider authorizing their attorney or go to the DA and let's find out what's going on. Because if you look at what Mr. Rankin produced, someone had to pay for it, and I think they had to pay enough money that he's a lobbyist, and I don't find him registered as a lobbyist at all. So I don't know what the violations are. I don't know the election code that well. I will try to call Sacramento tomorrow and see if they can help. Because I'm very unhappy. If you look at the voting record, by mail votes, the candidate we're talking about, Judith Dale, would have come in maybe second. But now comes Mr. Rankin's piece that no one could ever answer. I mean, in 2 days' time, how do you answer some of the allegations in there? And you see that the voting changes. She drops down to 4th. And I do think the council needs someone of her stature on the council. That's a voice that you're going to be missing. As far as I can see, that she's probably owns more property than the current council members, and you need someone to reflect that viewpoint. So my request is that the council consider directing their attorney to look into what's going on and maybe go to the district attorney or take a look at the elections code and see. I will try to file a formal complaint with the Fair Practice Commission in Sacramento
Good.
And that's, you have my talking points, you have all the references.
Thank you very much. You're right. It was a really nasty letter, and Judith Dale is an outstanding asset to our community.
I think so too. And I think that, now, you should be considering some sort of ordinance. It looks to me like the city council can provide some sort of penalty for people who do the sandbagging at the last minute. But I haven't had a chance to see if any other cities have any ordinance that penalizes this type of behavior.
It was pretty nasty. Thank you very much. Thank you, David. Any other public comment slips, Linda?
No.
Last chance? Going, gone. Closing public comment down. Moving on to the consent calendar. We have the minutes of October 25th, 2018 regular city council meeting. List of claims to be approved and ratified for payment to date for fiscal year 2018-19. That's it, a short one tonight. Gentlemen, any questions, any motions?
No, move for approval.
I will second that motion.
Linda?
Okay, Vice Mayor King.
Aye.
Councilmember Andriesik.
Aye.
Councilmember Mercado.
Aye.
And Mayor Sierra.
Hey, okay. That's good. I get to do another presentation tonight. I really enjoy doing these. Tonight we have a proclamation supporting the Healthy Eating, Active Living campaign in the city of Buellton. And I see Dean Peleus out there, so if you'll stand up.
Will there be a smorgasbord?
Bring samples.
Okay, so I get to read this. We have a nice long one for you. You want to step up? Come on up. I'm very, very proud to be giving you this proclamation. It says, whereas the League of California Cities, League, led the way with a resolution in 2004 which encouraged cities to embrace healthier lifestyles and communities, and whereas 2 years later, the League adopted a resolution to work together with the Institute for Local Government and the cities, counties, and school partnerships to develop a clearinghouse of information that cities can use to promote wellness and healthier cities. The Healthy Eating, Active Living Cities campaign grew out of these resolutions and is a partnership with the California Center for Public Health Advocacy and the League. And whereas more than 1/2 of California adults are overweight or obese and therefore at risk for many chronic conditions, including diabetes, heart disease, cancer, arthritis, stroke, and hypertension. And whereas local land use policy governs the development of the built environment, including pedestrian and bicycling infrastructure, in which individuals make personal nutrition, transportation, and physical activity choices. And whereas supporting the health of residents and the local workforce could decrease chronic disease and healthcare costs and increase productivity. And whereas health educators assist eligible schools, agencies, and coalitions in developing and implementing programs that promote healthy eating, nutrition, education, and physical activities toward the prevention of obesity and related health problems. Now therefore I, Holly Sierra, Mayor of the City of Buellton, on behalf of the Buellton City Council, hereby recognize and endorse the goals that support the Healthy Eating, Active Living campaign and declare Buellton a Healthy Eating, Active Living city. Woohoo! Thank you, sir. Should we get a picture going? Or step up?
No, you stay right. You're like a celebrity over here. Okay, Steve. Okay, good job. Congratulations.
You want
Just very
to
briefly,
speak? Yeah,
I know you're very
please.
busy.
Please.
We're very proud to receive this from the City of Buellton. We'll be at the City of Solvang next week, and they will be adopting a similar resolution. And I know it started in 2004. It took us a little while to form a coalition in the San Ynez Valley, but we're proud that we did. There's a lot of activity going on. There's general plan updates. We'll be back to talk to you about how HEAL can be part of your general plan update. Same thing in in Solvang. City's done a lot already with its bike paths on 246 and in other areas, but we'll be talking maybe about linking up to Solvang. I know you've been talking about that for a long time. We'll be working with the schools. Some of the schools have done a really good job in nutrition for lunches, but then when you go to sports activities and other things, you see the same kind of junk food and beverages, so we'll be talking to them. There's a lot of work to be done, but I know through their visioning in Buellton, this council and the prior council are headed in the right direction. So thank you very much. We'll be back to talk to you about specifics.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Please.
Dean, how involved is Veggie Rescue?
They're a member.
Your organization.
Yep, they're a member of the coalition.
They've been a major part of it.
Great partner. They partner with people, helping people to provide nutritious food to our client population, but they're also part of the coalition. The school districts are part of the coalition, the two cities. YMCA is a major partner now. Tommy, who's the CEO at the YMCA, is taking over. I'm so happy he took over. We helped convene it, people helping people. It's just, we just couldn't devote the attention that it deserves, so we're real proud to have Tommy on board to chair the coalition. But it's there's probably 16 to 18 pretty active members, and we'll be meeting on an ongoing basis moving forward.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, one behind me. Thank you very much.
Dean, is the senior center part of the coalition?
We've invited the seniors so far. They haven't attended any meetings, but I'm a senior myself now, and we're very cognizant of the need for active living, healthy eating for seniors as well. We have a lot of seniors in the San Ynez Valley who have, because of poverty, have nutrition problems. So we're very, food insecurity is a major issue that we're discussing. How we can improve the amount of food and the quality of food that's available to seniors. It's a good point. Very helpful, very helpful. But so is the food bank. You know, we look at the amount that we deliver every year, 380,000 pounds of food. About 240,000 comes from the food bank. So they're a major partner as well. Thanks for asking.
The senior center does?
Oh, yeah. Yep. Further questions?
No, just thank you very much
Thanks.
for all the work.
We really appreciate it.
I truly appreciate that.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for inviting us.
Okay, moving on to public hearings.
None?
Council member comment/items.
I want to, in doing the door-to-door, down Central, several people wanting to know when they can expect lights on the street lights. They really feel left out, Central Avenue. And then I'm asking, that we step up our industrial way access or activation. I don't, it seems like we're kind of stalled.
Staff's currently working with PG&E and looking at light potentials on Central. There are existing power lines down there, and it wouldn't be a new separate street light pole that you see throughout the rest of town, but they would be those separate small head attachments that you see in a few of the light poles. So we're working with them as far as the costs involved for something like that. Won't be as immense as the new pole, but there still will be a cost associated. As far as the industrial street lights, we have submitted plans as far as spacing and the light type of requirements that PG&E had requested about a month or two ago, and we haven't received any news back yet. But it's in PG&E's court right now.
And once we hear back on Central, we'll bring the cost estimate to the City Council.
Super. And then finally, could we get a date for the pyramids leaving the Avenue of Flags?
I do not have a date from them yet.
I heard where they're going, but...
They are going, but don't have a date. But
Okay.
once I find out the date, I will let you know, so we can all go watch them try to be extricated from
Park them in the
from
river.
the grass.
City party there.
Yeah.
City party.
They're getting a lot of negative publicity for our abilities to do good things.
I don't know, are you using the mics? It's hard to hear
I
everything.
need to pull that up.
Get it closer.
When are the pyramids going to leave the...
That's the problem being old.
It may take 3,000 years.
Art, did you have any comments, items? Vice Mayor?
Madam Mayor, I just want to follow up. Can we contact PG&E and see where they're at with this?
Yes, we'll follow up.
Okay.
Okay, and I just had, it is a little louder now, thank you.
Thank you.
I was remiss, the Friends of the Buellton Library had an ice cream social last month, and I did not give a big thank you to the Senior Center who volunteered all the ice cream and all the toppings, and they had a paid, I mean, they had somebody come out and actually work scooping the ice cream, and I truly appreciate that we have all these wonderful nonprofit groups that work so hard to make Buellton special. And I forgot to thank the Senior Center, and I wanted to do that. I also wanted to thank the rec department for a very successful holiday bazaar last weekend. Everybody I talked to walking around was having a really, really good time, and I appreciate that our rec department gives locals a chance to make a little Christmas money and sell their crafts. I've had a lot of people calling and coming in. I think we beat this thing to death, but with a new council starting next year, I'd like to bring speed humps/bumps back to council for a review to see if there's any change in what council wants to do with that.
I have a big thank you to Public Works for the massive improvement at the corner of Kaylor and 246. It's probably the nicest merging of two sidewalks. It took forever, but it's the nicest one in the county. and I think we paid plenty for it. But the folks that asked me about it on Kaylor.
Can we put that on the city website? That if they want to see a really nice sidewalk, the best in the county, they should come to Kaylor.
Like the Halloween costume.
Okay. No more comments, items, any written communications?
No, ma'am.
Committee reports.
We've had no committees.
CCWA is announced last month they're dark November and December. That's when they schedule their workload vacation and stuff, so we won't be meeting until January. Excellent.
And I got to phone in today for the California Association of Councils of Government, CalCog. There was a meeting in Sacramento, which unfortunately I couldn't make, but was lucky enough to be able to call in for 5 hours and listen. A lot of it was planning priorities for 2019 and what we're going to do now that Measure 6 was defeated and we still have SB1 money, which is crucial to our infrastructure. So, okay. Moving on. Business item number 4, award of contract for city attorney services.
Madam Mayor, obviously I need to recuse myself from this as our firm is one of the firms being considered. Rather than leave the room because I know there will be questions, I'll go sit in the audience. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Mark?
Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, at the direction of the City Council, we did a request for proposals process for City Attorney, and the City Council created an ad hoc committee of myself and Council members Andresic and Mercado. We received 7 proposals, and of those 7, we interviewed 4. Burke, Williams, and Sorensen, and we have Greg Murphy in the audience representing Burke, Williams, Sorensen, Colin, Tuano, Highsmith, and Watley, and we have Matthew Summers from that firm here tonight, Jones and Myers, and Kirk and Seamus. After the interviews, the consensus of the ad hoc committee was that Burke, Williams, and Sorensen was the top of the candidates that we interviewed, and the reasons for that is their existing excellent relationship with the City of Buellton and their partners, including JPIA and Carl Warren and Associates. The retainer amount is within the current retainer amount, and it includes work on human resources, code enforcement, ordinance development, finance, and public works issues along with their travel time. So this is no change from what was currently proposed. They're familiar with the anticipated litigation, including the potential district election work that they are currently working on for us, and they have an excellent working relationship with all department heads and understands the issues each department is facing. The ad hoc committee also felt that the second-ranked firm, Tuano, Highsmith & Watley, is qualified, and again, Mr. Summers is here. We did have a few reservations that Mr. Summers may be able to address. Their retainer is $10,000, which is in the range for the other firms, but does not include basic human resource or code enforcement tasks, ordinance development, or capital improvement projects, which would be billed outside of their retainer. However, I would like to clarify, I talked with Mr. Summers, that their retainer amount is unlimited number of hours. So the Burke Williams Sorensen is 50 hours, whereas Colantalo, Highsmith & Watley is unlimited. However, the code enforcement and human resources and those types of things that we currently have under retainer would be separate billable hours for that particular firm. Kirk & Seamus, a local law firm, was interviewed. However, the consensus of the committee was that the attorney did not have a municipal experience and did not really understand how city attorney type work was undertaken. So with that, we felt that they were third place, and we did not invite them for the interviews. And the firm of Jones and Myers was not selected as a finalist. The ad hoc committee felt that they did not do a good job with their interview. So staff is recommending a 5-year agreement. At this time, we have the paperwork for Burke Williams and Sorensen attached. They would be $10,250 per month, and that would be up to 50 hours of attorney time. Their retainer would stay in place for 18 months, and at that time, they could come back to City Council for CPI increases requests. So with that, I'm available, and as well as the ad hoc committee for questions, as well as the two attorneys that are in the audience tonight.
Thank you very much. First of all, any questions?
No questions.
You two
comment was just like to thank both parties that are here. I thought you both did a job well done, and appreciate the fact that you came to Buellton to look into this.
Vice Mayor King?
Yep.
No questions? Mark, I had asked if you would bring year-to-date numbers. Did you
Yes.
have an opportunity?
Yes, I did. There are two date numbers, and that's for July, August, and September.
Okay.
Is 35,426. The retainer amount was 30,712. The difference. We had some additional non-retainer work that occurred during this period, and that was the two issues with the Family Bowling Center and Crossroads and the payments that they were working on to get fees paid, as well as some code enforcement going to court, as well as the personnel rule revisions, and those were authorized by staff. And there was some work on private projects that were reimbursed. So that's where we currently are as far as right now.
Thank you very much. Linda, I had a question for you too. Well, maybe Mark knows it. You said that Mr. Summers, his firm, doesn't do code enforcement, and did you say personnel? That they go out for that?
No, I'm sorry. Let me clarify. They do have the attorneys in their firm. They don't have to go out, but they would bill the time outside of the retainer.
Regular, which is, okay. So I guess my question is, do we usually stay under the billable hours with Burke Williams Sorensen? Do we usually go over that, or are we under it?
We usually stay within the retainer, even with the personnel issues and code enforcement. But the litigation, again, for all firms, that is outside the retainer, and they did work on the litigation. And the personnel rules took a little extra time going back and forth on those, so that kind of went outside the retainer time. But most of the others, including a lot of the work on the Crossroads and others, was part of the retainer work as well.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, could I get the, revisit the numbers that you gave us? You said July, August, September?
Correct.
And we had two sets of numbers. The
Yes,
35,426 and 30,000. 30,000 was the retainer, and then this was the added, this was the extra.
The retainer amount was 30,712.
Okay.
And 35,426 is what we
So
paid
about
out.
4,700.
So,
Yes.
so we're averaging $66,000 in 3 months for the retainer
Right,
and the money.
and the extra was just 1 month. August and
okay.
September were at the retainer. There was no additional work in those particular months. And it varies, and
Bowling alley? Bowling alley, crossroads, code enforcement for our properties. Code enforcement where we are not, we're finding other ways to enforce.
correct, so we can get reimbursed.
So that
is
one
correct.
won't involve the attorneys. And how much time do we spend with personnel? You said that was the other one.
I don't have the breakdown, but it was within those numbers. And we had some other personnel issues going on that we addressed outside the retainer.
Okay.
So for discussion, I would like to have the council consider, the council that's here.
Do you want me to open it up for public comment first?
You go right ahead.
And then bring it back,
No,
so you
bring it
can
back.
move on to that?
Sure.
Okay, so questions are pretty well resolved. I got to tell you, I read the original packets and the packets in our agenda, and both firms are top-notch firms. Either way the city goes, we cannot lose. So I am opening it up for any public comment, anybody who wants to.
And maybe you would like Mr. Murphy and Mr. Summers to make just a brief statement and
I would appreciate that.
I think that would be.
Since Mr. Summers drove all the way over here, please come up. You look just like your picture.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak, and thank you for the invitation to come up as well. It's always good to see someone in person, not just through written product. I'm just here really to answer any questions. You've got an excellent firm. The ad hoc committee's recommendation to stick with Burke Williamson Sorensen and Mr. Murphy will serve you well. But if you are interested in adjusting or looking further at our proposal, I'm happy to answer any questions. I'll leave you with our core values, which are to provide advice that is helpful, understandable, and fairly priced. Thank you.
Thank you. And you do represent different cities.
Yes, I do. My current two main cities are I'm the city attorney for the city of Ojai in Ventura County, and I'm the assistant city attorney for Calabasas.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Any questions? Any? No? All righty. Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Murphy?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. On behalf of Burke, we appreciate our long-standing relationship with the city of Buellton. On behalf of myself, I look forward to hopefully, with your vote tonight, becoming your city attorney. I currently work with the cities of Alhambra, Atascadero, Temple City, and then in smaller roles, our clients throughout the state. I have been general counsel for the Alameda Corridor East Construction Authority, doing grade separations throughout the San Gabriel Valley. So I know what it's like to work with a number of elected officials who have a variety of priorities, and to help them get along to manage what is a pretty substantial project. With respect to the city of Buellton and our proposal before you, we know that what we're proposing works. We know it because of our history with you. We have learned the ebb and flow of work, and as Mark noted earlier, with a few exceptions, the main one being litigation that falls outside of the code enforcement realm, we're able to structure our work to stay within the 50-hour retainer in almost every month. There will be months when it goes over. That's part of serving cities, but we will try our best to take a month like a November or December when the city will slow down and do some extra work during those months so that we're always staying within a fair price for you. If you have any questions for me individually, I'm more than happy to answer them, but I turn it back over to you. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Any questions?
I do.
Vice Mayor King?
Who actually in the city, on your proposal here, who started this back in 1980 with Alhambra?
Mary.
What's that?
Her name was Mary.
Mary, here? Or you mean with Alhambra?
Yeah, with Alhambra. I mean, you guys go back to all the way to 1980.
Well, actually,
working with cities, who was that originally?
We go back much further. One of our founders, one of the Burke brothers, was one of the first people to start this practice, and I believe it was the city of either Downey or Montebello, the concept of contract city attorney law. So that would have been back in actually the 1960s. Alhambra is the oldest existing client that we have, and I just saw him at Lee Dolly is his name. Mr. Dolly was the city attorney for Alhambra for some years, from 1980 until he ceased being city attorney, and since then it's been Joe Montez. I know that Steve McEwen was your attorney for a short period of time, but it's our practice to have attorneys in place for 8, 10, 15 years. That's what we like, and that's why I'm proposed for you. This is my specialty, and I would be with you for a long time if you choose me tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you very much. All righty. I don't see anybody else who wants to speak, so I'll bring it back to council for comment and direction.
I feel that we're slighting what we've just done is getting a new a whole. This is going to be wonderful to have a 5-member council. It's now voted on and we know what it'll be, but I just want to reiterate that for 11 months we've existed with 25% less, 20% less than we're authorized to. Not many companies would do that. Given that, I would like to arrange for new people coming on to have some sort of involvement in the structure of this contract, and I think we've demonstrated that our checks clear the bank and you don't have to chase us for payment. And I would like to have us consider I don't have any problem with the contract. I would like to make a 2-year agreement with a 2-year extension, and I don't see the reason why we shouldn't at least propose that and see if either firm or both firms are willing to enter into something like that. Because I think our new council member would give him active relationship with it. All too often we take it for granted and we just say, here's what it is. So if the citizens would appreciate it.
If that's the will of the council, we have agreements with some cities that are completely at will. They have no defined term. If you'd like the agreement to be 2 years with the 2-year extension and then go out for a proposal again at that point, or simply do a new agreement with us at that point, that's perfectly fine. That timing is not the issue to me.
Greg. I think that's open-ended, and I appreciate your consideration. I just think the community deserves a quicker look at than 5 years.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Ondrzejczyk, we would certainly be happy if selected to work with a 2-year extension term. We're open to terms in terms of timing. And as similar to Mr. Murphy's firm, with our cities, we have 9 cities around the state. We have a variety of structures. Some are 3-year terms. My contract in Ojai was just renewed a couple months ago for 3 years. Others are at will, essentially permanent term until either party seeks to make a change. So we can work with your needs to structure the term.
Terrific.
Thank you.
And in 2 years, it's fine. That's what the council, what they desire, and that's not an issue with staff as well.
We may have.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, well, that doesn't necessarily require an RFP, because that's a lot of work, a lot of staff time.
I'm not discussing that. I said
I'm just
I'm
based
good with
on
the terms. I'm just the length of the terms is what I'm
So
suggesting.
if it were a 2-year contract with a 2-year extension, then you could always extend it past that.
Yes.
rather than
It
going to another
doesn't have to
RFP.
be an RFP.
Right, if the council is
wanted to make
happy,
that
they can
clear.
then extend the contract for additional years after the 2 and the 2.
All right.
Roger that.
So what is
If there's no other comments, I'm prepared to make that motion.
With?
As I said, I'm sorry. With our existing firm with Greg, and I appreciate Matthew coming. I just, a goal that I had was doing our darndest to get a local firm. Every business in Buellton and Solvang says, we shop local, we do local, and we've never made an effort to look for local. And we at least had a local Santa Maria firm at least come to the table, and I'm happy that they were willing to do that. And it happened the way it happened, and we'll live with that. But I'd like us to not have such a long turnaround before we had to do.
How long has it been? 26 years?
Yes.
26 years.
But there was one extension in 2008.
91.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't know what the Mary's name was. There was Mary something. She
I'll
started.
find out.
I'm sorry?
I'll find out.
Oh, I thought someone knew it. Jeff might.
Mary Gale.
Mary Gale. She was on the phone. She was here. She stayed in the hotels. We made a lot of top money with her.
Not Dorothy.
Huh, okay, so we have a motion.
Well, can we have that clarified? You want to say it again, Ed, and complete?
The only thing is that
Staff's recommendation, but a 2-year term with a 2-year extension.
A second.
Okay.
Linda?
Okay, Councilmember Andrusik.
Aye.
Vice Mayor King.
Aye.
Councilmember Mercado.
Aye.
And Mayor Sierra.
Aye, thank you. Mr. Summers, thank you for coming up.
Thank you so much for considering us.
You have a very reputable firm.
Thank you.
You would have served well.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak to you, and you will be in very good hands. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay,
And congratulations.
congratulations.
Thank you all
sir.
very much.
Indeed.
Moving on to agenda item 5, review and approval of 1-year contract extension for M&S Engineers and Tetra Tech. Ms. Hess, you're on.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members, City Council. On September 22nd, 2016, the council awarded the contract for engineering services to M&S Engineers and Tetra Tech. The general city engineering services was assigned to M&S Engineers, and development, encroachment, and utilities plan check inspection services contract was assigned to Tetra Tech. Initial contract period was for 2 years from December 8th, with council's option of 3 one-year contract extensions. In this time period, staff has provided as attachments 1 and 2 the proposed hourly rates for M&S Engineers and Tetra Tech. They were told at the initial contract period that they would have the option to provide new hourly rates during contract extension time if requested. So those are provided in attachments for you. As far as the main split, as far as the development, encroachment, and utility plan check inspection services, this is new for the city and to do that split as far as the work has been concerned. Since then, Tetra Tech has been doing a good job as far as efficiency on inspection time and the plan check services. We have had some issues with some oversight for public improvements, and we've been working with Tetra Tech to work on enforcement, because we've had a lot of issues as far as stormwater, water quality issues, other illegal discharges that has been occurring with some of our projects that are ongoing right now. Same issues that we've had in the past, constantly with the developers, so it's just a matter of keeping an eye and keeping that vigilant as far as inspection services. So with that, staff is proposing to request from council to approve additional 1-year contract extensions for services from M&S Engineers and Tetra Tech, and also to approve the proposed hourly rate sheets noted in attachments 1 and 2. Just for a general overview for the attachments, the M&S rate sheet for 2018 for this additional extension is the same rates as the original contract, and Tetra Tech has a slight increase in their rate structure. It's a 3% increase from the original contract.
Okay, first of all, any questions for Rose? No questions?
I think, and I'm not sure, I know that when we stayed with M&S at this last contract, Tetra Tech was to get all new business, as what I understood. And that's not what I'm believing has happened, but I could be wrong. So I'm looking at this a lot closer, and I have a recommendation once you hear from anybody that wants to speak first. And then
We do questions, we go to public, and then we...
You want to have Rose address the...
Yeah, all development projects have been transferred over to Tetra Tech. M&S at that time was finishing up projects that were almost complete or near completion, but all of that has been completed. Any new projects have come in, they all go to Tetra Tech, and any of the larger projects that were in existence, such as the Village Townhomes and Crossroads, have all been transferred to Tetra Tech as well.
I had a quick question on that one. Fig Brewery, are there new construction going on? Is Tetra Tech taking that one?
Yes.
They've taken that one over? So the only thing that M&S is still doing with development is the stormwater?
Well, yes and no. General stormwater inspections, as far as the SWIPI and construction site observation, is performed by Tetra Tech. It's part of their inspection process. The city's NPDS permit, as far as our stormwater requirements for our compliance with the regional board, we are required as the city to check up and do compliance checks with the developments separate from construction inspections. It's a compliance check to make sure everything's in order, they have their paperwork at the job sites, etc. And there's a specific requirement that was spelled out in our permit, and that was for this last 5-year permit. Mary's, the PETA, has actually been working to modify that.
Yeah, she's
to
terrific.
streamline that, so we eliminate that portion.
It just seems like it's kind of double work, where you've got
Right.
Tetra Tech going out there, and then you have M&S going back out there for something different.
Right.
When I had suggested that we put Tetra Tech in charge of development, like Councilmember Andrasik, I thought it would be just kind of a clean split,
Yeah.
and it hasn't worked that way.
Not for that stormwater, because
Yeah.
it's kind of it's a check on a check, is what the regional board was requesting. So
Okay.
that's how our permit was written.
Right. And that will be going away with her new...
With her proposal, yes.
Okay, thank you.
That being said, if I remember when we did the stormwater agreement, that's a huge fund. That's over $1 million. Is that right? Is that our portion, or was that Solvang and Buellton? It was a big contract.
No, we don't have $1 million
It's not a
contract
okay.
on that,
I
no.
don't know where I got that number, but it's
No.
floating around.
But we do the stormwater support services M&S provides is a joint contract with the city of Solvang.
Right.
So
And
we're
I
two
thought
small
it
cities,
was
our
like
permits are
$1.3
tied.
million or something when I remembered reading it.
Right,
but-
no.
Okay.
No.
Art, you have anything to say?
No, I'm
No
coming new.
No questions. I noticed Tetra Tech did raise their rates. They're still a little bit lower. So it's not like they've jacked prices up. They're-
Right, no,
Yeah,
no.
yeah. Okay. Questions? No questions at the moment. I'm going to open it up to the general audience, and then I'm going to ask Tetra Tech and both Jason Fussell and Jeff to step up. And is anybody from the audience? No? Okay. Jeff, you want to step up and let us know what you're thinking?
Well, just another successful year. We're proud to say that we've served as long as you guys from day one, and we've yet to exceed our budget that is established by every single council since I've been here. We're proud business owners of the city of Buellton. We have been. We will continue to be. Buellton gets extra care. If you had a city that's kind of your baby, for me it's Buellton. I watch after Buellton very, very closely. And we do a lot of good things. I listened to earlier about streetlights on Central Avenue. And I remember when we started, that was all dirt. People were parking in the front yards. There was no storm drain system. Then we got all that storm drain in there and the sidewalks installed. Same thing in front of the mobile home park. For years that was all dirt. We went out and got money from Caltrans, minor aid program, got sidewalks out there, and now there's a bus stop. And a lot of good things have happened. Squeezed in a park and ride down there at the end of town, and there was a lot of
When are we getting the one on the north end of town?
soon. As soon as we get through the bureaucracy of Caltrans and stormwater.
Caltrans,
Yeah,
huh?
No, say it so.
we could sit down and talk about that one for a while. Once
Days.
again, our
Days.
doors are always open. Encourage you guys to come by, especially you. We could talk golf. They're rolling so good over there. Played out there Friday. And we're more than happy to answer any questions you may have
Thank you.
at this point.
Any questions for Jeff?
The one thing on the MS4, here again, Rose stated that we as a city are under tight scrutiny with the Regional Water Quality Control Board. So when Tetra Tech is doing their thing, they're out controlling the actual construction team. So we'll take FIG or Village or any of those people. With every city, there's always now another layer, because what we don't ever want to have happen is get a notice of violation. M&S has been hired to get more than one city out of violation, and that's just a place you never want to go, because right now, that industry, or that whole entity is running amok, in my opinion, and it's unchecked. They come up with new regulations, new laws, they're coming down like hammers, and then they don't follow up. Well, my question is, how are the city's going to pay for all this that you want? And it's extreme, and hopefully I've seen the water starting to calm down a little bit, versus the first 4 years. I'm seeing the road ahead, and they're starting to be regulated themselves, so that's a really good thing. I understand what they're trying to do, but it's a little harsh. You get smaller cities, and it's extremely hard to do. So one of the things I did was get together with Solvang so we could share and save money, and they bought into it. So we're probably one of the few places that actually do it as a joint venture. And it really has worked out fairly well with Matt Vanderlinden and Rose and everything else. So, can I answer any questions while I'm up here?
Thank you for the...
Thank you. I didn't mean to take that long.
Thank you very much, Jeff.
Excuse my sinuses. I'm having a little difficulty these days.
Mr. Fussell.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the council. Thanks for having me here tonight. I just want to say that the past 2 years has really been really great for Tetra Tech. It's something that for me, was a new endeavor to take on. I think that we have actually done a pretty good job. There's been challenges with the developers. Obviously, they're always trying to skirt the limits, and how are you going to see stuff that's covered underground and or under a vault lid. We are trying to do our best. When I approached you guys a little more than 2.5 years ago, I think it was, we didn't have an office here. We now have an office right next door. There's myself and 2 other people that are pretty much full-time here in town, trying to make sure that we're doing our duty for the city. And as Rose mentioned, there have been some things that are out there that we didn't necessarily catch, but now that we're growing here locally, we have local staff that live here in the community. It's easier for us to make sure we get out there and try to be more proactive and make sure that we are addressing things before it goes to the water staff, and it goes to Rose, and then ultimately comes to us. I know with Art living next door to the townhomes has had, with the dust, we're trying to figure out how we can mitigate that, but there's always room for improvement. We're here, we're wanting to improve. As a 11-year resident of Buellton, I'm wanting to make sure that we're doing a good job for the community and doing it at the right price, and especially with developers coming in,
them making sure that they're getting the product that they're wanting out of us and their expectations. Ed, with regards to the stormwater and the breakdown, everything that Rose said is pretty much correct. All new projects that have come in are going to Tetra Tech. So that is happening with regards to staff and their direction towards us and stuff. So with that, that's about all I have. I look forward to hopefully working with you guys another year and many more after that. So any questions?
Thank you very much. Any questions, gentlemen?
No. I do remember.
Sure.
Jason, elaborate on what you didn't catch and what you didn't mitigate.
Yeah, so just, what caught me off guard in the staff report was there was a highlight of a illicit connection for a water connection. And there was a water meter that was removed for the townhomes, and because they didn't pay their fees. And so it was removed, and so it actually came out of the hydrant, and then there was a pipe that went underground. And so we thought that when the meter was removed, that it would be a hose connection that they were using. Well, it turned out that they went back and they connected back into the hydrant with a hard connection into the pipe that they had underground, so it wasn't as visible to us. So we missed that. The water, Joe M. caught it and was removed. But so as part of our more due diligence with the local people that live here, we're going to be trying to make sure we're looking for things like that more proactively and not just doing our normal 1 day a week inspections.
Okay.
So.
Thank you.
Kind of sneaky.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, as Kent knows, they've been very sneaky out there, and when we took it on, they were connecting meters, and they'd have like a jumper in there, and they're taking water before they put the meter in the ground. So those are things that it's in a meter vault. So you have to, and there's a lot of homes out there, so you can't really see everything every day. So it's just a matter of trying to inspect it periodically, and cross your fingers. You hope you find something where you don't find it, and so it's contractors. So.
Okay.
Wow.
Madam Mayor?
Yeah.
Jason, as I walk around up there, I see a lot of apparatuses on the fire hydrants. And I guess that's because of the construction, but I thought we've had some issues where people were caught filling their water trucks without a meter.
Well, are they blue?
Pardon me?
Are they blue? So there are apparatuses on the meter, on the hydrants that are meters.
Yes.
And then people have approval to hook up their water truck so they can draw water.
And I understand that. When you hand them a meter, it's got a reading, an odometer reading on it, and then you can...
We have had issues, and it wasn't projects that Jason and his team or M&S was doing. They were just going to a hydrant and tapping into the hydrant. So we've been trying to deal with that from the public works side. So that's our crew that looks at those.
Do you have coordination with, I don't know if the sheriff's able to apprehend those people, or, what's the sequence then? Because if people come in at night and fill up their truck, we lose that.
I know.
Does that happen much? Do you have a way of knowing how much, if you've lost water in a meter?
Not at those volumes, unfortunately.
Right.
It's if someone sees them,
quickly, so you got a large
call.
gap flowing.
Right.
See something, say something.
Yes, please.
Right. Well, I'd like to thank Jason. His concerns, having been there for a long period of time in the neighborhood, just as a homeowner, I thank you. So.
All right, you're welcome.
And I just want to chip in that I think both Tetra Tech and M&S have been doing a great job for the city over the past 2 years with the new duties. When I call Jason or any of his staff, you immediately get back to me or to Public Works, and we do appreciate that. So.
Good. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, I'm going to bring it back to council. Mark, I asked for numbers with M&S and Tetra Tech too. Do we have those numbers?
Rose can present them.
Oh, perfect.
All right, so from July through November 8th, total for M&S Engineers expenditure has been $91,513.49, and for Tetra Tech has been $9,635.
Okay, now M&S, that's the current billing?
That's,
I know that
that's
sometimes-
July through
August.
November 8th, so that's months of July.
Okay.
Oh, the invoice numbers. July through
August, September,
August 31st.
October.
August
4 months.
31st.
July and
In a
August
week.
then?
Yes.
4 months
Okay,
in a
that's
week.
for July and August.
I thought it was July to November.
No,
Well, that's the report
Oh,
polling period,
no,
but
the
looking closer, it's the invoices from
July
July
and
to...
August, because they're usually behind.
okay.
We were going to try to get them
Bill
more
once
current,
every 2
but
months. Okay.
yeah, it hasn't been that way. And Tetra Tech was $9,635, and that's from when to when?
The same time period.
July and August?
Yes. Theirs is through September, September
Okay.
28th.
July to September. For Tetra Tech, at 96. Okay.
So that's a 3-month, and M&S is a 2-month. And what would you say, Rose, the majority of the M&S work is? Or maybe Jeff?
Well, there are various projects, billing for the road improvements, maintenance projects for inspection, design, things like that goes on. There's our backflow program is one of them. Industrial streetlight project is being worked on. The stormwater and IRWIMP type work is, that's the watershed in general, work is probably the largest of all of those. But they go through different projects.
And these are all budgeted accounts that they're working on city
Right,
projects.
right.
And one of them also is the flex space on the avenue. So
Yes.
I know Kent is working on that.
You
so
still have hair. Haven't ripped it all out yet.
It grew back after we got the sidewalks installed on 246.
There you go.
Madam Mayor.
Yeah. Yes, I'm sorry.
Again, we are changing our, the makeup of our council, and I think we're quite fortunate to have someone that has we will have a public works expert on our council. And not disparaging anyone else, but when you're paying for services versus people that have, there's operating efficiencies with doing that. That being said, I would like to have us move forward on a month-to-month basis, perhaps for 6 months, and revisit this, the option of continuing as we're doing, or perhaps reevaluating how we might get a better evaluation, a better working ordinance with the staff that we have, rather than, and I'm not talking about hiring staff, but we can have better, there are things that you sit down and talk to a water person, they'll tell you what you can look for, and where you can't cut corners. And some communities are cutting their corners, and they're, I mean, we have a local situation with water issue within the city, and I'd hate to think that we would create something like that, but I think we're above that, and we've got a working crew and advisors, and I would just like us to, I'd like to offer that up as moving this forward. The other option would be to bring this back in 6 months and do it, but I think we could move forward tonight if two parties would come to an agreement on either 90 or 60.
I don't mind moving it down. I really don't want to go 6 months, though. I'd
Okay.
rather do a 4-month at max.
Okay.
And
Yeah, and they're 2-month billings, so that makes sense. Then you would have
I mean-
apples and apples with comparisons.
Madam Mayor.
Certainly.
Well,
Please.
I think with some of the revelations that we've had tonight, and with, and I understand what Ed's saying, is why don't we give us, council, and John, which will be on council in December, why don't we move this to the first meeting in January and then revisit this then and make a decision. I think month to month, I mean, I understand what you're saying, Ed, but I think you have to make some stability for the companies, you know, that we're gonna employ them for at least a year.
Realizing the two-month billing, it would be then two billing cycles versus under the 4-month.
And we will see by the end of the year what that billing is. So if we can move this issue down to first meeting in January. Anybody else?
I would say maybe first meeting in February, maybe, just.
Okay, fine by me. I mean, it'll give us.
You want to have two full cycles so that you have the.
Which is the one that she has now.
I know that Vice Mayor wanted to sit down with both firms.
Yes.
And talk to them, and we haven't had the opportunity.
Let's do it to February. What we also can do is break down the budget amounts to show what they're working on.
Right.
Because these are budgeted things that the council needs us doing. We do not have the expertise or the number of staff available to do that work. So I think.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to infer that that we would try to do it in-house. I'm not trying to move the
He's just excited that we have an in-house expert on council.
But I think first meeting in February, and then we'll have additional billings that we can provide the council.
So here's my direction to those two guys. I want line by line of what you're billing us for.
For how long?
And what you're doing.
We have that. We can provide that.
Well, they've got it as well, and when I come in, I will, you can go over it with me line by line and what we're.
I know.
And it goes for you too, Jason. You know, what you're billing us for, what it is, why we employed you to do that. I mean, yeah, go ahead.
So we'll stay on month to month and table this and bring it back on the first meeting in February.
So I just, maybe as a engineer and business person, probably not the best thing to say, but we're completely comparing when you look at dollars, and this is, to be fair to M&S, is we're looking at, if you're looking at dollars, it's not fair to look at what they're doing versus what we're doing, because we're doing two different things. So Tetra Tech we're at the whim of whatever development is coming in. So if there's a lot of development, our fees are going to be higher. If there's a lot of inspections, ours are going to be higher. On the, with regards to billing, and I think this is what M&S is doing as well, but on all of our time cards, we put in what we're doing, where we went for that half hour. So everything is right there, and it gets submitted to Rose, and so it's there, and then we give a little summary each month. So, however, 4 months, 6 months, I'm on board. I mean, I live here. I'm not looking to move anytime soon, so I'm actually just really excited that I'm right next door, 2 blocks away. So if you
much mileage.
but I just wanted to point that out, is that if you're looking at budget-wise, they're doing completely different scope of work than what we're doing. There's not a clear scope, like overlap or anything like that. So
but you're able to track it so we can see.
Yes, and
that's
and over the past 2 years, you have everything that we've done, and you can look at it.
Right. Well, I tell you why I'm saying that is because I have seen reports from him where he's done a project and it says, this guy X amount of hours this day, this guy X amount of hours that day, this guy whatever. I've seen reports from Jeff's office, and so I get a sense that you're thinking this is apples and oranges, which realistically, I mean, if you're doing a project and you send an inspector out, you should be able to justify how long he was there and how much he was paid and how much you billed us for. I mean, that's basically what I'm asking you for.
That's there.
Okay.
On our part,
I'm just giving you a heads up because I'm going to come see you guys.
Yeah, I'm more than happy to sit down and meet.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is everybody in agreement?
I'm good with that.
First meeting in February?
That's fine. Okay.
All righty. Thank you, gentlemen.
Assignment, John.
John's got a lot of homework assignments, the poor guy. All righty. Thank you very much. We're moving on to agenda item number 6, resolution number 18-21, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Buellton, California, adopting updated personnel rules for city employees. Ms. Reed.
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor and council members. Staff last updated the city's personnel rules in August of 2015. Since then, certain state and federal laws have been enacted, and we've worked closely with our personnel attorney, Katie Sutra, at Burke, Williams, and Sorensen to ensure that the new laws have been incorporated into the updated rules. All the updates are contained in the red line version of the rules attached to your staff report. Staff has also clarified and updated sections of the rules that reflect standards and practices at the city, such as pay periods, comp time accrual, benefits, holidays, and work attire. Personnel law is a minefield, and Katie makes it look easy. So she protects the city of Buellton, and we're fortunate to have her finger on the pulse of changing legal trends. So as soon as the rules are bound, Katie and I start a list of changes for the next iteration of bound rules. It kind of goes like that in a cycle until we bring it back to you. Staff recommends that the council consider the adoption of Resolution 1821, updating the personnel rules for city employees. And with that, we're available for questions.
Thank you. Any questions for Linda?
No, pretty self-explanatory. I mean, having met Katie, she does an excellent job through your interview with us during the ad hoc, but also during her form that she presented to the council last year. So I think she does a great job.
Can I just ask, because I did ask, do we have a city employee that is for lack of a better word, a go-to person for employees to ask?
Like a representative?
Yeah, a representative. I don't want to say the word union, but a person that would be able to say a bad rumor starts that somebody's doing this or doing that. You know, we had a time when the vehicles were being used basically for personal use, and I think we thought we had that under control, and they're only being used for city stuff. But no one was able to tell me who the person would be. That's really your responsibility. I guess they would come through. Is that the system that the city uses through a clearinghouse? So at CVS we've got a lot of employees, and they make it a point that we've got to have these meetings because we don't want to get a pledge or a threat issue. We want to stay on track with what's on your mind and what do you want to do. And I don't know if we have that.
Well,
I think
that
everybody's
is
open
pretty much my job.
Yes.
So if anybody has an issue, that is my job to bring it to me. I determine whether it should go to Mark and whether it should go to Katie.
And that's in the personnel rules. That's a complaint and grievance procedure that Katie and the attorneys have worked out, and it's per the
Which is
appropriate laws.
different. I mean, a grievance is something different. I mean, if somebody saw something that they didn't think was right, obviously they'd bring it to my attention. I'd bring it to Mark and bring it to Katie's and get her.
Department head first, right? And then it would go to you.
Either or. Yeah, they could go to their department head or they could come to me.
And that's all laid out in the procedures.
Okay, and then that's what I would wonder. Is that clear to the employees? If I were to ask an employee, they would say, I wasn't asking anybody, do you have any problems? I just said, how do you communicate when you want to make a change or when you need to understand what the program is? Because I work on the personnel committee for CCWA employees, and that's about the size that we have in the city. And it's they seem to have like a flow chart of what's what. And not that we need that. I don't want to create a bureaucracy, but I wondered if when I was looking through this, if anyone had any, or we're just fortunate that 50 so many pages, come up unchallenged.
73.
73.
Well, most of the stuff, if you look through there, is pretty clear. It's, I mean, there's a lot of labor code sections in there that, obviously can't all be written in the rules, but for the most part, the rules are pretty self-explanatory as to what's what. And we've laid it
That's
out.
why you have an employee handbook.
Yeah,
and leave that to the employee.
And when
so.
I first started in 2001, that handbook was about that big.
Oh, yeah.
So we've increased it dramatically, and that has a lot to do with the laws that have been enacted. There's a new law that is in effect that we do a life scan for all new employees, and they have the opportunity, if they have something in their record, to challenge that life scan with us.
Okay,
and we have to allow them that opportunity.
Right.
You know, somebody stole 3 candy bars in college, and that's on their record, and it shows up on their life scan. Now they have the opportunity to challenge that.
Sure.
That is a new law. It does take longer to hire people, but we have to give them that opportunity.
I think we've been very fortunate. The longevity is wonderful. I wasn't challenging it. I just wanted to make sure that it's an open-door policy.
I guarantee that the procedures, the employees do know about those, because we have received those types of things. Yes, that is correct.
Yeah, and there should never be any misunderstanding as to where employees go. They can always go to their department head. That is their direct, report. They can come to me, they can come to Mark. That should not ever be an issue.
And then the last question, which was going to be one of my first questions, when was the last time we updated it?
August of 2015.
So 3 years ago.
3 years almost.
Yeah, we usually run a cycle of between 3 and 5 years.
Okay.
And
that seems realistic. You wouldn't want to be seeing it every 6 months.
No, definitely not.
And not every 10 years.
Like I told Steve, it's kind of like a rose float parade. Right after January 1, you start working on the next one. So I take my rules, I put a piece of paper on the inside cover, and I start making notes as to changes.
That was my question. So you've got 73 pages here. For you to sit down and go through 73 pages would be so time-consuming. You do it bit by bit then.
I do. So I as soon as I get that new bound version, I put a sheet of paper on the inside of my master copy, and as soon as something comes up that may be a question or maybe something needs to be changed, I just write it down. And I keep a list as we go. And then Katie and I get together, and she does the law portion. I do the portion of cleanup, housekeeping cleanup, and we put them together and we talk about them, and she tells me whether
so
I can do them or not.
this has taken a while to...
Yeah, I think we started in January, so it's just now coming to.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions? No. Open it up to the public. Don't see anybody jumping up on this one. Coming back to council. Gentlemen, discussion or a motion?
No, I'm good. I think we should go as directed.
Do a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve. Yes.
Okay.
I'll third it.
Linda.
Okay, Councilmember Mercado.
Aye.
Councilmember Andrusik.
Aye.
Vice Mayor King.
Aye.
And Mayor Sierra.
Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Linda.
Hands-on.
Yeah,
Good job,
thank you.
Linda. Great.
City Manager's Report.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, I'm still working with Galita. We're getting close to some solid numbers to bring to you for December 13th to talk about the transition to Zone 4 Galita. So Galita's getting that information to me, and I'll be working through that. And Black Gold, I think, has okayed till the 13th to allow us to make the decision so we can transition. So.
And that's, we're not being shoved out or having to pay a premium for it. The Black Gold seems to be the key to the
Black Gold is Black Gold, and we would pay the same price for if we were in Santa Barbara or Galita. So that's kind of a...
That's good.
And we can't do anything about that. So we're working out the other numbers that we can.
What is the number now? Anyone know?
Well, we pay 141.6, I think,
That's for everything.
For everything. But for the whole library, I think it's in the order of $300,000 for the entire library budget, and then we contribute 140 to Santa Barbara. So we're working out those numbers with Galita on theirs.
The last time I ever heard a number, it was 25,000, just the Black Gold. But
Black Gold, I don't know. I'd have to check
all.
on that. But the total budget for the library is in the range of $300,000, and then we contribute
because when they were
about
talking
140.
about taking, we were going to have to go in with Santa Barbara, period. Why shouldn't we? We have the ability to do it ourselves if we can have Black Gold, and it seemed like that was being held as a carrot.
No, because part of the discussions I've had is we would have to have our own library director, and that just bumps.
Yeah.
So, so Black Gold is Black Gold. It's going to be whatever we do, but I'll have some numbers to you guys shortly. I'll try to get them in advance to you guys once I get some numbers down. Again, sharrows and crosswalks along Second Street will be at the next meeting as well. So those will be the two action items along
Thank
with
you.
the council
Thank you.
reorganization.
Thank you.
And Rose has informed me that we have lights on the avenue.
PG&E did it, huh?
We don't know if it's
Are they
a
battery?
permanent solution or the jury rig solution, but we worked with them this week and you saw that they were out there. So the lights are on and we'll see how long they stay on.
Well, we will
We'll go from
certainly
there.
know if they don't stay on.
Yes, we will.
And
We will know immediately.
can I add?
Yes.
So we are also getting questions as far as when we're returning the flags up to, on the poles on the avenue. We want to ensure that the lights are on and repaired permanently, or at least, long-term
flags go
permanently, before we put them back up. Because we'd hate to put them up, they're out again, we don't know for another, and we go through the whole fiasco again. So that's.
So we're going to give it about a week and make sure
About,
they stay up.
yes.
Thank you.
Has PG&E told you what the issue is?
There's some issue with
Wire,
underground
probably
lines
underground.
somewhere.
Water leak.
They don't have plans.
But we don't
so
know.
They're just digging and
And
looking.
they don't have any plans.
So
That's awesome.
anyway, we'll follow up.
With the PG&E while we're there, when we had the 50-year celebration here a month or so ago, the lower part of the flagpoles looked like
They don't look good?
an undesirable area. And I don't know if we could spare the silver paint and make them really look nice, or is that a PG&E issue? I think PG&Es are outlawed, they're lights.
The flagpoles are ours, so.
I understand, and that, I would hope when the pyramids leave that the people see a sparkling flagpoles instead of rusted pipe.
Rose and I will chat.
Thank you.
That is it.
That's it? All righty. Thank you very much. Mr. Murphy?
Thank you, ma'am. Due to our special meeting today at 5 o'clock, we don't need to go into closed session for item 7, so it will only be item 8, anticipated litigation, initiation of litigation as set forth in the agenda. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll take a 5-minute break and go into closed session.